Part 70 of Don't Say Schwarzenegger. For this part, Defendant Alberto Driz will be taking the stand. Okay, so just so you know, you're allowed to laugh at a lot of these parts coming up because this is when the true theatrics are happening. And I remember even like the jury, because the jury's instructed, not to speak to any of us, but and not to, they're supposed to be kind of stoic in all of their responses. And there were so many times when like we'd go to see if the jury was laughing because just the stupidest things were being said in court. And like you would see them like trying to muffle and like not make a face and like upset the judge. But it was totally understandable. And the judge never once like admonished them because like it was just beyond. So our attorneys get Alberto, and that's Alberto, by the way, is the cousin to Sean Driz. He is the twin brother to Maurice Driz, and he is the father to Anabella Driz, whose name is on the illegal trust fund that is hiding millions and millions of dollars from all of us survivors. We'll get to that. So first thing he says on the stand, and by the way, he goes by Daniel Driz. Alberto's just his like legal name, but everybody knows him by Daniel Driz. I call him Alberto because that's his legal name. So he claims that he can't hit a woman because he has a broken finger and he can't even make a fist. He proceeds to close his fist, his right hand, probably 10, 15 times throughout this entire testimony, just so you know. So first thing that's brought up when he's on the stand is that both Alberto and his twin brother Maurice, they were both found liable for schmexual battery of an underage girl that was an employee of theirs, underage, under 18, 16 years old. That they wouldn't stop touching her. They wouldn't stop. It was really bad. I read the entire thing. And the girl was awarded $500,000. Like, this is disgusting. Like, just the behavior is very consistent, So that's brought up. And Alberto insinuates that the lawsuit was never against these two. The lawsuit was against Blaze Pizza. He's saying Blaze Pizza was in the wrong, not them. Interesting. So if you remember before, I mentioned that I wanted to, and the judge wanted the text messages from that evening and that week and everything between them, and that my attorneys had subpoenaed them after I told them, hey, all you have to do is like, you have 10 years, you can do it. It doesn't matter if they delete them. You're wrong about that. So they did subpoena them, but they ignored the subpoena, and then my attorneys just didn't follow up. So we've never had those. But Alberto was asked, now, why didn't you call 911 that night? And he goes, well, my phone disappeared. Like, so he's trying to say, like, I couldn't text anyone, couldn't call 911. He said, my phone disappeared. And I found it 2 months later. Someone called me and demanded a $500, like, a ransom. So somebody found his phone at the nice guy in the melee, kept it, knew it was his, waited 2 months, called him, somehow got his new phone number, called him and said, I'm going to need $500, meet me on the corner, blah, 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 and you'll get your phone back. Like, what? Then Alberto admits that he owned 11 Blaze Pizzas in 2015, the time of the attempted unalivings. He says the night of the attacks that he was with his daughter, Anabella, who was underage, not allowed to be in the nice guy, which is, and they tried to change the story. First he said she was totally there. Then he was like, wait a second. No, she came there, went to the front door, and then went home, which is so not likely. He then says, but before he realized he's caught in the lie, he goes, yes, I was with my daughter, Anabella. She was 22. And we correct her because we're not idiots and we know math. And we go, well, your daughter was 18. And he goes, yes. And then for some reason, he's trying to like paint himself as like the best dad in the world. And out of nowhere, he goes, this is so weird. The most important and precious to me is my daughter. And number 2 is my party. What? He then says that the whole fight at the valet at Nice Guy started over like parking cars, which it was. He yelled at the valet for not parking his car 2 feet closer. But he says it was because he was trying to help a lady find her parking ticket. And he says her name is Eileen. It's not. Her name is Victoria, and she was never deposed or subpoenaed for some reason. He then, these quotes. Okay, he then says, I'm not an actor. I'm not a public figure. I'm just Joe in the street. I'm a gentle person. Alberto then goes on to say that his nephew, Sean Driz, is a total gentleman. Go watch part 34 of my series. That will show you everything you need to know about Sean Driz. And now you get to find out how I chose my name for my TikToks and my YouTube or whatever. And my name, I call it Animal Green, and this is why. So Alberto says, and they say this multiple times throughout the rest of the trial, they referred to me as an animal, not a human being, an animal. He says, a mystery man must have punched him in the face. He says, well, I don't know if it's a man, a woman, or an animal. Hence my TikTok name. Oh, then he says, and I quote, Alberto says, I feel sorry for me. As in himself. Now, it's funny because Alberto starts saying that they were all attacked. It was all self-defense, despite William Jolson getting up on the stand right before him and just giving up and going, look, no. And those guys, they were never attacking anyone. They were trying to save people. I'm sick of lying. So, bad. And he keeps pushing the narrative that Jacob Castellan, the TMZ guy, only had a scratch and that there was no need to come to his rescue. They each take turns, not William, but they each take turns trying to push the new narrative for the civil trial. And during this, like every couple of minutes, Alberto is like talking with his hands and he keeps making a fist with his right hand that we all are noticing and just burying our faces in our hands. Like, should this be funny? This shouldn't be funny. And I can't show my injury pics on TikTok because when I did, they would just take them down and give me violations. So they're over on my Instagram. It's the very first one pinned at the very top of my Instagram, and my Instagram's in my bio. Go follow me there. But they're there. Like, I had a traumatic brain injury, so they're pretty bad. And these pictures are shown to the jury and everyone in court, and Alberto looks at it and he says, all I see is something on her forehead, a red scratch. I don't see anything else. Nothing serious. And then he refers to me as an animal again. I chose the name Animal Green for my TikTok because I figured you want to see me be an animal. Here we go. I'm going to do a whole series on you guys, so everyone, thanks for watching. Next in court, on the big screen for the jury, our attorneys showed a screen grab from one of his deposition in 2019, and the screen grab is him literally making fists. And so, like, he's doing it in court in front of the jury going, I can't even make a fist. It's not physically possible. See? And then we're showing pictures of it, and it's so embarrassing. Alberto then goes to say that night he saw his twin brother, Maurice, profusely bleeding from his eyes, mouth, and cheek, which is interesting because at the end of the assaults and everything, all of the defendants slowly and clearly walk under the security cameras and, like, no blood, no ripped clothes, no blood on the shirts, nothing. They're all, like, patting each other on the backs and, like, briskly walking to their cars before they start running. Oh, and the other thing is when they had to when they got arrested, when Shapiro brought them in like a week later, 10 days, whatever it was, all of their arrest photos and everything, not a scratch, like not a bruise, not a swollen, nothing. So, Next, he implies that all of my injuries from falling off the fence and hitting a tree all the way down. But they tried to use the narrative that I lied about going over the fence and actually went through the nice guy bar to go outside. Pick a lane, guys. Come on. Jesus. His next quote, he says, I'm not a boxer. I'm just a nice guy. Ooh. The next quote is, I see a woman. I see my mother. They were staying at a brothel in Bel Air. Oh, we're not going there. Nope. Next, he's asked, did you ever have any intention to retaliate? And he answered, maybe inside of my heart, but no. Next, he perjures himself again, and he says that Alex Derval, the attorney, wasn't even there that night, despite Alex Derval being on the security footage and admitting in his deposition that yes, he was there that night. Oh, I'm so tired. When asked to bring all of the witness statements from all of the secret witnesses they had, 10 to 12, and he wouldn't bring him to court, he said the reasoning was his attorney, Tom Mesereau, he's the guy that represented Michael Jackson in the little kid PDF file court case, and he's the one that represented Danny Masterson for the rape of multiple women. Thomas Mesereau is that kind of person. But he said, yeah, I tried to get the statements from him. I called him 3 times, but he's in Europe. And the judge is like, well, they were subpoenaed a year ago, so... Then Alberto says it is unreasonable for women to help people. And then he's asked, how does a 60-year-old man get the energy to drink all that and then attack people at almost 2 a.m? I wonder if it was had anything to do with the powder that was found while he was on felony probation in his home. He then lies and says that his luxurious Beverly Hills condo that was put into Anabella Driz's illegal trust fund actually belongs to his parents, but it doesn't because there's documentation that I have and I'll show. And then that's it for now. We'll go to the next part where he gets cross-examined by Ally McBeal and company.